Jonathan stopped and turned towards Elijah. "Hey man, I'm just taking this girl to the pack doctor," he said, monitoring towards me with his head. "What? What happened?" Elijah said with concern written all over his face. I didn't want to look at him, so I turned my head into Jonathan's chest. I could feel tears start to prick my eyes as I thought to keep them from falling. Jonathan must have noticed my change in demeanor because he tightened his hold on me slightly. "A group of pack members jumped her earlier. The school doctor said she doesn't have the proper equipment to treat her wounds here, so I'm taking her to the pack doctor." Elijah took a few steps toward us and extended his arms. "Here, go back to class. I'll take her," he said, looking Jonathan in the eyes. Anyone could tell he was angry, but about what? I wasn't completely sure. I mean, he couldn't be angry about Jonathan holding me. He made it very clear he didn't want me. Either way, I didn't want them to miss classes because of me, so I made my way out of Jonathan's arms and found my balance. "Thank you for saving me earlier, Alpha, but you shouldn't miss class. I'll drive myself to the pack doctor," I said to him with the best smile I could muster with my busted lips. I bowed to him out of respect before limping my way to the front door. However, I didn't get very far before another wave of dizziness washed over me, and I fell to the ground. Before I hit the ground, I felt warm hands catch me. No sparks erupted, so I knew it must have been Jonathan. So I was once again in his arms and being carried. "Go back to class, Elijah, and tell Rose I said hi," he called back, not even looking in his direction. We soon made it outside, and he walked straight to his black Chevy Impala. He carefully sat me down in the passenger seat before buckling me up and getting in the driver's side. "What about my truck? I'll need it to come to school tomorrow," I asked quietly. "I'll have Elijah bring it to your house," he trailed off. "I'm sorry, but what's your name?" he asked, confirming my assumptions that he in fact had no idea who I was. "Raine Andrew, sir," I said, staring at my hands in my lap like they were the most interesting thing in the world. He nodded and started the car and made his way to the pack doctor. It didn't take long to get there since there was little to no traffic. He pulled up to the front entrance and carried me inside. The lady at the front desk took one look at me and ran to get the doctor. Jonathan carried me to an examination room and laid me down on the table. The doctor came shortly after and started assessing my injuries. "Well, you have a sprained wrist, 2 broken ribs, and a minor concussion," he said, writing everything down on his clipboard. "How long until she's healed?" Jonathan asked. "She doesn't seem to be healing properly, so we'll have to run some tests to see." I nodded and thanked him before he left to get the equipment he needed. I glanced over at Jonathan to find him looking at me with a face full of curiosity. "You should go back to school, sir," I said quietly, trying not to agitate him. "Don't call me sir. It makes me sound old," he said, chuckling. "Just call me Jonathan, and don't worry about me missing class." I simply nodded and waited for the doctor to come back. Silence fell over us before he decided to speak again. "So, what's up with you and Elijah? I've never seen you two hanging out before." I stiffened a bit, unsure of how to answer that. I'm almost positive that Elijah doesn't want anyone to know that he and I are mates. What am I supposed to tell him? Nothing's up. We just bumped into each other earlier this morning. It's not a complete lie. I mean, we did bump into each other. "You're a horrible liar," he said. "What's really happened?" he asked, walking up to the bed. I avoided his gaze. "He probably doesn't want anyone to know," I said, hoping he will drop it. "What doesn't he want people to know?" Of course he didn't drop it. Don't make me use my alpha tone. I let out a defeated sigh. "I'm his mate." "What?" Jonathan asked in astonishment. "When did you find out?" "This morning. What was taking the doctor so long, I was mentally begged for him to walk in soon, so I didn't have to explain everything." "Rose is going to be devastated," he said to himself. He could see the pity for her clear as day on his face. "No, she won't," I said, sadness leaking into my voice. What do you mean? Why wouldn't I? Looked away from his questioning gaze. Because he doesn't want me? Because he chose her? I interrupted, trying not to cry. Jonathan opened his mouth to speak again when the doctor finally showed up. He walked in with a tray and a weird-looking machine. Okay, Raine, we're going to draw some blood and do an ultrasound to see if anything abnormal has appeared. Okay, I said as I closed my eyes. I hate needles. When I was younger, I watched a scary movie where the bad guy gave his victims a shot of something that made them slowly go insane. Ever since then, needles have been a no-go for me. Thankfully, it didn't take long to get the amount of blood needed for whatever test they were going to run. Next was the ultrasound, and let me tell you, that jail was cold. After the blood was collected and the ultrasound was finished, the doctor asked Jonathan to help me sit up. Then he left once again, leaving me alone with that questioning gaze. He let out a sigh. You know, being rejected explains why you aren't healing properly. I'm not rejected, just unwanted. I said quietly, I won't be rejected until tomorrow. What? I asked him not to reject me until tomorrow. I didn't want to be rejected on my birthday. Everything clicked and pity filled his bright blue eyes. Please don't look at me that way. You don't have to pity me. Elijah's an idiot, he said between clenched teeth. He ran a frustrated hand through his black hair. I looked up at him completely shocked. What? Jonathan shook his head lightly. I lost my mate and it nearly killed me. He knows what losing a mate can do to someone. He let out an agitated sigh. I haven't known you long, but I know you deserve to be treated better than that. I felt a blush creep up on my cheeks. So I covered my face with my hair. He let out a soft chuckle. By the way, where are your friends? They're probably wondering why you aren't at school, he said, trying to lighten the mood. I don't have any, I said awkwardly. You don't have any friends? I shook my head, not looking at him. I knew he'd probably ask why I have no friends, but he wouldn't believe me, and why would he? The reason is Rose. Rose is why I have no friends. For as long as I can remember, she's made sure no one would want to even look at me. After a few years, people just forgot I existed. I gave up on having friends a long time ago. Well, I know you aren't new here, so how is that you don't have no friends? You probably wouldn't believe me if I told you, I said with a sigh. Try me. Why? I asked, getting frustrated. He looked at me confused. What do you mean, why? Why do you care? We've never spoken before, so why? No, we haven't spoken before, but everyone needs a friend. If you don't have any, then I'll take that spot in your life. Why would you do that? Because no one should have to go through losing their mate alone. There was an immense sadness in his eyes. I nodded when the doctor came back in. Both of us turned our attention to him, waiting his orders. Well, it turns out that your wolf is too weak right now to heal you. Because of this, we're going to have to inject you with a serum to boost your healing ability, he explained. I gulped and looked at him before closing my eyes. Jonathan was now walking me to his car. Whatever was in the shot helped a lot. I was now able to walk with a slight limp and the dizziness was gone. The doctor did say, however, that I wouldn't be fully healed until tomorrow. One side effect of it, though, was extremely drowsiness. So I wasn't about to fight the sleepiness that came over me. But I didn't miss Jonathan softly say the words, "So cute," before passing out.